Welcome to this edition of Supervisor Spotlight. This is Angie Carpenter, Town of Islip Supervisor, in the studios here at 103.9 Long Island News Radio at Long Island MacArthur Airport. And with us today are very special guests, Judy Pascale, the Suffolk County Clerk, and a good friend and someone I spent a number of years with in the Riverhead County Center when I was the county's treasurer.
That's right.
And kind of miss seeing you.
I miss seeing you, too. I mean, it was very nice to have two elected officials out in the Riverhead County Center, and it was especially nice to have two women elected officials out in the Riverhead County Center, and it was really... we got to have coffee together, and that was kind of nice. It was a nice break when things got a little crazy. It was really nice.
Bounce things off of.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And I miss you. Trust me, I miss you. I miss you dearly.
Well, I'm a phone call away.
Yes, I know.
Phone call away. So tell us, how does one get to be the Suffolk County Clerk? How did you get started?
I got started. I joined Ed Romaine when he first became the county clerk, and I believe that was in 1989 after a special election. And I went there as a deputy county clerk in charge of court actions, and soon became the chief deputy county clerk, which was very nice because Ed Romaine was a very good boss to work for, and I was the first woman chief deputy county clerk ever appointed in the 300-plus year history of the Suffolk County Clerk's Office. And I stayed with Ed for 16 years, and then he left to go back to the legislature. And in New York State, the county clerk's office is a state constitutional office. You must have a county clerk, you must have a district attorney, and you must have a sheriff. So by virtue of the fact that I was the chief deputy, I became the acting county clerk while it was being decided who would be the candidate for county clerk. And I guess I won the toss-up, and I ran for county clerk for my own 4-year term.
So, everyone should know out there that the county clerk is an elected position. It's a 4-year term.
It is.
And because it is a state-mandated office, the county clerk is not subject to term limits because some of the county officials are, but the county clerk is not. And so for someone who's doing a really good job, in that whole issue of term limits, I mean, everyone has a term limit, and the limit is your term that you're elected to. If you do a good job, you get reelected. If you don't, you're gone.
Yes.
And, certainly there is the power of the incumbency, but again, if a person's doing a good job, people tend to want to keep that person in place. And certainly you've had a long tenure, and by everything I've heard, and, there's a lot tossed around now about being bipartisan and, working with both sides of the aisle and so forth and so on. But for all of the years that I've known you, you've epitomized that in the county clerk's office, because regardless of who comes through the door, whatever political persuasion or whatever, you're there to serve them.
And I pride myself on that, and I can't take the credit for that. I am blessed with a very, very good staff. The county clerk's office is kind of a low-key office, even though my office probably affects pretty much every resident in Suffolk County. If you own property in Suffolk County, if you have a mortgage that's on file, if you're unfortunate enough to have a judgment or a lien against you, or any other court action, a divorce, you have a relationship with my office. And I tried from day one to remove that stigma that when you deal with government is very difficult to navigate.
Absolutely.
And people don't know. I mean, there's town clerks, there's village clerks, and then there's only one county clerk. And people confuse that. And we get a lot of phone calls about, I need to get, a sticker for my car, for a handicap sticker. Well, we don't do that. You have to go to your town clerk. Well, where is my town clerk? So we do a lot of that. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I did want to do when I first got there is I wanted to remove any stigma that when you walk into a government building, you're going to get the runaround. And I'm very happy to say that and as you said, and I appreciate that you saying that, but I go to a lot of civic things. I go to a lot of events, and people actually seek me out. And they tell me that, I have to tell you, I was in your office the other day and they were so wonderful to me. And I mean, these are strangers. So if I've done nothing else, I've done that. And I think that's what people expect from their government. And I think that's what they deserve from their government. And I'm very happy that, like I said, I have a very good staff. They're very accommodating. And I'm very proud of it. So, yeah, we do have a nice reputation for helping people. I'm sure there are some people that, have not gotten what they wanted, but we have to abide by the letter of the law. But when it comes time to help someone, or someone calls up and says, I don't know what I'm doing, it's a question of bail or something like that really doesn't have anything to do with my office, we have a really good staff in that they will direct them to the right area. So,
well, that's really key. You're not there. I mean, you can't answer all of the problems of the people that call, because a lot of times people are not sure who they're calling or if they're calling the right office. But I can remember back when I was in the county legislature, I had a woman who was working for me part-time, and, it was a small office, and my office was in the back, and she and the receptionists were in the front. And I heard her on the phone, and I heard her say, well, that's a town problem. And she's like ready to hang up, and I come flying out of the back, and I give her a motion, just hold, and she puts the person on hold, and I'm going, no. If a person takes the time to call my office, your office, because they need help, I think it's incumbent upon us to say, okay, well, this is a town issue, but I can call, I can write, I can give you the phone number if you've got the exact information that they need.
Exactly.
So that they're not getting the runaround.
Yes, and
that is so frustrating.
Yourself. I mean, when you go into and I make this comment a lot. I don't know if people that are as old as I am would remember the Carol Burnett show. And I said this the other night when it was a skit that I guess she did with I don't know if it was Harvey Korman. And I think it was like a DMV office, and the person came in and rang the bell, and she comes out filing her nails, shuffling her feet.
Mrs. Wiggins, I believe.
Yeah. And that, unfortunately, is a lot of what people, when they think about a government office, that's what they think of, that, they're not going to help me, or they're going to, push me from one window to the other. And I think we have an obligation. When people elect you to an office, you have an obligation to serve them, and they elected you. They are your boss. So I that was the one thing that I stressed. And like I said, my staff is very accommodating, and I can tell you that not a week goes by that somebody doesn't make it a point to come up to the front office and say, I just want to let you know I was in your recording department, and so, this girl was very good. She helped me. And I'd say, well, what was her name? I don't know. She had blonde hair, but that's okay. Yeah. And I say, okay, good. I'm glad. If you have any other problems, come back. We can't practice law. I mean, there are some people that truly need a lawyer. I'm the clerk of county and Supreme Court, as well as being the county clerk and the records management officer. And, some people have some legal questions that we just cannot practice law. We can guide you, but we don't practice law. So we will guide them. And there are some people that, definitely need an attorney to do what they want to do. And we'll direct them, we'll send them in that direction. So.
Well, I think you can hear from what Judy is saying that it's not that simple.
No.
It's not that simple. But through all of that, the sense of making government user-friendly. It is the people's government,
That's
and
correct.
We do work for them. And, when you said that about, the residents of the county are your boss.
They are.
Because I remember once having someone call and complain to me and I'm going to call your boss. And when I was in the county, I'm going to call the county executive. I said, well, you can call the county executive, but he's not my boss. And, well, who's your boss? Who's your boss?
You are.
You are.
Yes.
You are. Exactly.
Yes.
And I think people understand that, and you just want them to be respectful, because you don't want someone saying, as you hear the proverbial, I pay your salary, screaming.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure
at you.
we all get that. We all get that.
But
there are some
for the
people
most part,
that are so
people
frustrated. And like I said, if you've gone over to the court and then they told you to go there, or they told you to go to the law library, by the time they get to us, they're pretty aggravated. So, it's frustrating. And we feel their pain. So we try to calm them down. And
so, Judy, we are going to take a little bit of a break.
Okay.
And we will come back and hear a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of a day in the life of the clerk.
Okay.
Hi, it's Angie Carpenter, Town of Islip Supervisor, back with Supervisor Spotlight. And in the studio today, we have Judy Clerk.
It's okay.
Judy
okay.
Pascale. Yeah, but I think everybody knows you as Judy Clerk.
Okay.
But it's Judy Pascale, and she is the Suffolk County Clerk, and she does a wonderful job. And, you know, what I like about Judy and her approach, and I liken it to mine, is you're not afraid to think outside the box and do outreach and, you know, let people know what's going on, take it a little bit beyond what maybe a traditional county clerk would do. And I know there's been a recent incident that basically a scam, as far as I'm concerned, that people are always coming up with these new kind of ways to trick people.
Yes.
But Judy, tell us about that and what you did about it.
Well, as you know, around 2008, we had an influx and a balloon of foreclosure actions, and that was a result of what went on
and everything.
you know.
Exactly.
So it all kind of peaked in 2008, and unfortunately, there are people that take advantage of other people's misfortune, and there were a lot of foreclosures. I mean, a lot, and several companies were sending letters out to residents and saying that you must get a copy of your deed. If you don't get a copy of your deed, you run the risk of having your identity stolen. And they were charging anywhere from, let me think, I wanted to say anywhere from like $39 plus shipping and handling to some $99. We saw one that was $129 plus shipping and handling. And what we found were people were running into the office with this letter, and they were in a panic. And we determined that we had to do something about that. So what we did was I have a very state-of-the-art IT department. They developed a program whereby they could contact each homeowner, and we assigned them a specific PIN number and a specific number. And if they wanted to, they could put it on their credit card. It was $5 because, quite honestly, whether anybody's charging $2 or $1,000, the only place you're going to get a copy of your deed is from my office.
Exactly.
And the standard county fee is $5. So we developed this program whereby we were contacting these people and saying, hold off, don't get nervous.
Panic. Yeah.
It's okay. You don't need a copy of your deed. If you ever need a copy of your deed, you can always get it from us, and it's $5. So we had this mailing out, and we've been doing this mailing for probably from 2008. So we've done it segment by segment. We've tried to hit, different towns, and I think we just hit the Islip town not too long ago, and we've gotten a tremendous response from Islip that people want a copy of their deed and they pay the $5. We don't charge them shipping and handling, and it's become a revenue neutral. It's not costing the county any money, and we're not making any money.
This is a good thing.
So and we made sure about that it wasn't going to cost the taxpayers any money to do this. So it really turned out to be a wonderful program, and we've gotten a lot of response from it, and a very positive response. And people still come in and they say, I need a copy of my deed, and say, sure, you can get a copy of your deed right down the hall, and it's worked out very, very well.
It's probably not a bad idea, as you're having your records pulled together. We don't always keep them in order. And to have these kinds of things readily available. I know with the enhanced driver's license now, and I'm just going through that myself, the documentation that you need for an enhanced driver's license is a little extensive.
Yes.
And do you have, when was the last time you checked to see where your birth certificate was, or that you had it, or marriage certificates, etc. So it's probably not a bad idea to do that. And for $5,
that's what the county charges, $5.
A large Starbucks.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, just to add to that a little bit, I also wrote to the Attorney General at the time because I felt that these people were really being very unscrupulous and they were taking advantage of other people's hardships. And I know a lot of there are 62 counties in New York State, and I'm a member of the New York State County Clerks Association, and a lot of these county clerks did the same thing, and we kind of talked to the Attorney General, and the only thing they were able to do was they put this little disclaimer on the bottom made these companies put this little disclaimer on the bottom saying that you can obtain a copy of your deed from the county clerk's office. So I guess that was the best they could do.
I'm sure in like 6-point type. And,
well, yeah, but
know.
it was the best that we could do. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's been a very successful program. We've had people that, sometimes we're like amazed that, areas that we don't think are going to be that responsive are. So it's great. And we have a specific hotline, and this program is designed just by my IT department, which I'm very, very proud of. So, so anybody needs a copy of your deed, go to the county clerk's office. Don't fall prey to any of these solicitation
What is the hotline
letters.
number?
Okay, well, the hotline number for this is, we actually ask you to go to our website.
And that's easy enough to do, Suffolk County.
Suffolk County Clerk, ny.com. And if they get the secure customer ID number, which is specific for them, and we actually put their tax map number on it too.
Oh, well, that's good to know,
so,
too.
Yeah, so this is a great
excellent.
program. So anybody that wants to do that. And the other thing that we just did was what we call a homeowner's watch list, which is another program that we have put on our website, that if anybody wants to get any recent activity on any of their mortgage or their deed, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, I didn't know somebody did this or somebody did that."
Mm-hmm.
So this is a program that's strictly voluntary and it's free. We call it the Homeowners Watch List, or HOWL, HAL. And it's an alert that any activity on any recording of against your property, you would be sent an email.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's obviously it's for deeds, mortgages, mortgage stats, and assignments. But you can just join this by going to the Suffolk County Clerk's website. You must register for it, obviously, because we have to make sure that it is you.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get a letter mailed to the physical address. And it'll contain a unique PIN number so that we know that that's you and that's the number that you're going to use, and that all notifications will be done via email. So obviously you'd have to have access to email, and a valid email address is required. But we've had some good response from that as well. Sometimes, one of the major issues that we have is we have, John Smith and then John Smith Jr. or John Smith. It's, they always say, don't, if your son has the same name as your husband, or sometimes that's very confusing. So, but that's another project that we are trying to get everybody to use. It's just for their benefit. So if there's any activity, anything that happens on your property, you'll be alerted to it.
Well, that's great. It's kind of reminds me of, at the town, we have the e-alerts where we encourage people to register, so that if there are any issues, especially when there are weather-related storms and so forth, they will be alerted.
Yeah.
It was interesting yesterday. We had town board meeting last night, and at one point, all of these little, signals were going off on people's cell phones, and I'm going, what is going on? And I just said, if everyone could please, power down their cell phones. And it was raining outside, and by the time anybody sees this, they're probably going to forget about it. But we had an incredible rainstorm last night, where we had 3 inches of rain in 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. The canals couldn't.
Yep.
There was no place for the water to go, and I saw water where I've never seen it before. On our block, and we were out there with the pumps, and the guys were out there, bailing and trying to do the best they could. Yeah. So. But information, and I kind of digressed a bit, but if we can arm people with information so they know what's really going on, we've really, really done them a good service.
Honestly, everything in my office, with the exception of a few things, is public information. So you have the right to that.
Yep.
If, obviously, any land records, that's public information. But the only thing that obviously is not public information is some of the things that are in my court actions department, which would be divorces are not public information. You'd have to be either the parties or the attorney of record, and some of the criminal cases where there are sex offenders involved. That's the names of the victims are not public information. But other than that, everything in the office is public information.
Right.
So,
Well, we will come back and we'll hear a little bit more about what's going on in the Suffolk County Clerk's office with Judy Pascale. This is Angie Carpenter. We will return. Welcome back to Supervisor Spotlight. I'm Angie Carpenter, Town of Islip Supervisor, here in the studios at our wonderful Long Island MacArthur Airport. Long Island News Radio 103.9, very gracious to allow us to use their studios. And with us in the studio today, we have Judy Pascale, who is the Suffolk County Clerk, and doing a fine, fine job. In fact, when she came into the studio, she brought me a copy of the annual report that I know when I was in the treasurer's office and in the county legislature, I used to get all of the time. Really a very nice, thorough job, and I would assume that this is online, that people could
I'm
request it if they wanted to.
I'm not sure if it's online, but but they can certainly always request a copy from my office. We'd be happy to send them one.
Good. It really gives you an overview of what the county clerk does, and we are so blessed in the county that our county clerk, and I know I'm blessed too in the town of Islip, our town clerk, Olga Murray, and I know that you guys interact a lot, does a fine job also. But your office has gotten a tremendous amount of awards over the years.
Yes, we have.
And it's because you work at it, and your team works at it.
It's a good team. Absolutely, it's a good team. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that we earned a grade of A+ from the Press Club of Long Island after it did an audit of 195 municipalities with regard to responsiveness and adherence to New York State freedom of information. So your county clerk's office got an A+ for transparency, which I think is extremely important, and I think it's something that people like to know about their government offices. So,
well, you said earlier that the information is public, so it stands to reason that if it is, that there shouldn't be an issue with getting it if someone has a reason for wanting it for appropriate purposes.
And therein lies sometimes a little problem, because while we want to be able to have transparency and we want people to be able to access the information, it's always a fine line, because like I said earlier, there are certain things that are not public information, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to protect that. So if it's public information, the public can see it. And I was very proud that we were able to get this, because that was at a time when people were saying, you're hiding stuff. We hide nothing. So it's a very nice thing to have the A+ for transparency. But I'm more proud.
Tell me.
I'm more proud of the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, there are 62 counties in the state of New York, 62 county clerks, and the Suffolk County Clerk's Office has received the Best of New York award. Not once, not twice, but we've received it 3 times in my tenure as county clerk. So that you have the best county clerk's office for bringing government to the people, and for a variety of other things, and the use of innovative technology. And so we have the best in New York 3 times, which is something that we're very, very proud of, and which is something that really the taxpayers really deserve. So
absolutely. You want to think that your county clerk, your town clerk, your town, that they are the best, and that's a great thing. That's really a great thing. Some of the other things that I think people need to know, you participate in the County Clerks Association. I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
And I find that those kinds of things are very helpful too, because I know as a county treasurer and now as a chief fiscal officer of the town of Islip, I participate in the Government Finance Officers Association. And you get an opportunity to meet with other people and share best practices and really refine what you have is good to kind of hopefully make it even better.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't get to go to these a lot, because they're all, well, if the ones are in Albany, that's fine. That's a little bit of a hike. A lot of the county clerks, the leaders of the county clerks associations are from way upstate.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there's a county clerks association meeting coming up next week but it's really far away. It would take me 7 hours to get there, and I just
you have a responsibility.
Yeah,
too.
You do. So
I understand,
but I do like to go to the one in Albany, because that's usually the reorganizational meeting, and it gives you an opportunity to talk to the other county clerks. Interestingly enough, I mean, some of these county clerks have 10 employees. They're little tiny counties, so we don't have a lot in common with them, but we do like to trade some issues. And also, many of the county clerks upstate also have DMV. They have motor vehicle, which we are very grateful that we do not have.
The size of our county.
The size is, yes.
Work,
and we're one of the busiest county clerk's offices by volume. So when we went to do electronic recording and electronic filing, particularly electronic filing of some documents in our court actions department, I had to work very closely. I wanted to work very closely with the courts, with the administrative judges, to make sure that they bought into it. So that's worked out really well. And
let me just stop there, because what she just said is something I hope everybody heard. Reaching out to the end user and making sure that what you're coming up with is going to be something that they're comfortable with, that's really going to make their offices more productive, and what they do better, is really, really key. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. I know sometimes in legislative bodies, having served in the county legislature, it's a matter of, let's do the resolution, we'll worry about it later. If you try to say, well, how is this going to work, and how are we going to enforce it, and this is impractical, they don't want to hear it. They just want to do what they're going to do, and then we'll fix it later. But going out there first and making sure that you've got that buy-in, well, that's awesome.
We needed the buy-in. I mean, a lot of the counties did electronic filing, which would be court actions or many court documents. They started that several years ago. I waited, and I admittedly will tell you that I dragged my feet a little bit, and because my staff was like, let's do it, and I was like, let's just wait and see how they make out, because this was a totally new way of doing things. I had to make sure that the judges in Suffolk County were comfortable with it. I had to make sure that the attorneys in Suffolk County were comfortable with it. And I wanted to make sure that any of the bugs that the other counties, experienced were already ironed out. And I'm happy to say that probably 60%, maybe a little bit more, of the documents that are recorded in our court actions department are done via e-filing. And we have certain ones that are mandatory, and it's working out very well. And a lot of the attorneys tell me, I love it. I can e-file at 12 o'clock at night.
It's amazing. If you have any opportunity to interact with an attorney and just conversationally, and you get on the subject of the county clerk's office, there isn't an attorney in this county who will not say that it's efficient. You run a great operation. You're doing a fine job, and you're really, the residents of Suffolk County are really well served, and we're very grateful that you're there.
Well, like I said, they're the reason I'm there. They put me there, and I have an obligation to them as any elected official. And I think as long as you don't lose that perspective, that this is who we work for, and this is why we're
Absolutely.
there, and we made a promise, and it's up to us to fulfill that promise.
You said that we made a promise, and I can see, when I was sworn in many times, whether it was in the legislature or as the treasurer, and now as a town supervisor, when you put your right hand up and you swear to uphold the law and to the best of your ability, so help you God, I mean it.
Yeah.
And I know you mean it.
Yes.
And if you follow your heart and you do what you know is right and best for those that you have been elected to represent, everything else falls into place.
Yep.
And there are pressures sometimes out there. It's not easy. And, in the era of Me Too movement, I would dare to say that it's a little bit more difficult being a woman elected official sometimes. But I think that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yes.
And I think the viewers tonight or today are looking at two strong women who care about what they do, are committed to what they do.
Yeah.
And on behalf of the residents of our town, And having been in the county, Judy, I want to thank you for your years of service and look forward to you being the county clerk for many more years to come.
Well, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure and an honor.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
And for those of you watching or listening, we thank you for tuning in to Supervisor Spotlight, and we will catch you next time.